What began in Crimea is now playing out in eastern Ukraine.
This is utter destruction. I mean, I've been in demolition sites, war zones. I've never seen anything quite like this.
But the outcome here is far less certain.
We're going to stay low because we just had a burst of gunfire.
War has returned to Europe.
We're right on the outskirts of Donetsk, and as you can hear, there's a pretty significant battle underway.
It's West versus East, and it's Slav versus Slav. We've come to the front lines
Journalisti! Journalisti!
and gone into the mines.
This is not a good place to go if you're claustrophobic.
Look at what it means for ordinary people and what it might mean for you. The fast-moving car should have been a clue.
Some small arms fire there.
You don't have to go very far to find the fighting. We're right on the outskirts of Donetsk, and as you can hear, there's a battle going on.
We came to this bridge to film some of the destruction caused by the war in eastern Ukraine. What we didn't realize was we're not entirely outside of the battle zone.
Journalisti!
Все сюда.
Стоим! Journalisti!
Turns out, I'm standing on a tank parked just under the bridge. A separatist fighter, off camera, trains his gun on me and tells me not to move.
Picture?
He wants to check our documents.
Пожалуйста, пожалуйста.
Satisfied with our papers, he relaxes and we're free.
All right, well, here we go.
Next day, we returned better prepared.
This is the flak jacket. Got our helmet here. Last but not least, fresh battery.
Если здесь русские, почему оттуда летят снаряды в мирных жителей?
We're being driven to the Donetsk International Airport, the most fought-over piece of real estate in the entire war, by a pro-Russian fighter who goes by the nickname Crimea, to get a sense of what lies ahead. Two truces between the government of Ukraine and the pro-Russian separatists have already collapsed. Crimea thinks this one will too.
Правый сектор, территориальные батальоны, которые пошли вот именно добровольно, которые идут воевать. Тех, кого заставляют, те не хотят воевать.
He says a Ukrainian militia that enjoys a billionaire's backing is shooting at them right now.
He wants to show something. He's going to show me. Just keep a low profile. Could be snipers.
Венствол, видите, вон они, шахтные копры.
Да.
Вон они. Левее воинская часть. Значит, там стоит 20-й территориальный батальон. Непримиримые. Вот здесь и здесь. Это территориальные батальоны, это те, кто пришли, идут воевать, будем говорить так, добровольно.
A series of surreal moments awaits me. It's International Women's Day, a big holiday here, and Crimea and the fighters have come with gifts for another member of the separatist Vostok Brigade.
Дорогой, любимой мамочке от отважных сыновей.
Ну так а как ты хотела?
Ukraine spent hundreds of millions of dollars building the Donetsk airport. Donetsk was about to host the European Soccer Championship, and the country wanted to show the world it too could have a first-class airport. It's now a wasteland. Its only value is as a buffer.
This is utter destruction. I mean, I've been in demolition sites, war zones. I've never seen anything quite like this.
It's not every day you see an armored personnel carrier in an airport terminal. It is more than clear no one is going to fly here for a very long time. The apocalyptic scenes go on, and we didn't even see all of it. Half of it is guarded by another separatist battalion with its own chain of command. Just like the Ukrainian side, the fighters over here aren't always on the same page.
We're going to stay low because we just had a burst of gunfire, but the Ukrainian position, the other side of the front lines, is just about 2,000 meters that way. The Ukrainians have set up at a coal mine at the top of the elevator shaft. The idea of rebuilding this airport with the two sides so close, still shooting at one another, even if it's only sporadic and occasional, is unthinkable.
We visited Ukrainian troops on the other side of the front lines. This soldier lost his friend to a separatist shell.
It blows up in the air and drops shrapnel, and our brother, the only boy with a flak jacket, was the one that died.
It's easy to see how this conflict might explode again. There are tens of thousands of men out of work here with nothing to do. Plenty of them have already taken up arms. Some of the fighters may be from Russia, but since most of the separatists also speak Russian, it's hard to tell who's who. There are also plenty of weapons being moved around. How would you know whether they're being withdrawn or just moved for another day?
Firepower and firewood, essential ingredients in wintertime warfare.
It's no surprise historians call this part of the world the Bloodlands. I didn't meet a single person on either side who thought the fighting is over. And that includes a commander from the separatist Vostok Battalion.
If you analyze the previous truces that were announced by our side or their side, the Ukrainian side uses the truce to reorganize their troops. And then it starts again with fresh troops. That's what happened in the summer and fall. I'm afraid that's what will happen again.
Of course, the Ukrainian troops say the same thing about the separatists. We bump into another reminder right around the corner. This is war. A group of men are resuscitating a fighter just hit in a mortar strike. But they lose him. The outlook for eastern Ukraine is bleak. I'd hate to see what a return to the fighting looks like. Coming up, we go into the world's most dangerous mines.
It's exactly 1 meter above us, and boy, is it dusty!
And we witness the human cost. Life in eastern Ukraine was tough enough before it became a battlefield. This is coal country, a land of slag heaps that's been on its back since the collapse of the Soviet Union. In the town of Snezhnoye, all but 2 of the 17 mines had already closed before the war between Ukrainian troops and pro-Russian separatists began. Life now is grinding to a halt. We're at the Udarnik coal mine, one of the town's last engines of economic activity. And we're heading 600 meters beneath the surface.
He's been doing this for 20 years, going down in this elevator.
My father was a miner. My grandfather was a miner, and my great-grandfather was killed by the Germans and thrown into a mine.
The miners on today's shift are following in the tracks of at least 3 generations before them.
place to go if you're claustrophobic.
Nowadays, the coal isn't easy to come by. Miners have to travel further for less.
Check this out. Where we are right now under this mountain of coal, it's exactly 1 meter above us. And boy, is it dusty!
The last time they used the heavy machinery meant for getting at the big patches of coal was 2 years ago. The richest deposits are gone. The mine was slated to close this year, but the separatists overturned the Ukrainian government's decision and are keeping it open. These miners are working for the promise of pay.
These guys aren't even getting paid, and they're working because they say the whole town will die if they stop mining. So they just come like volunteers to work.
I guess we broke away from Ukraine, but it seems nobody needs us. We're alone, just surviving.
Joining Russia, like Crimea, might be better, but it depends.
Who knows? The grass is always greener. And who knows if they want us? If they said with any kind of conviction, well, we'll take you under a roof and provide you for this, this and that, and we'll provide work and a steady salary, well, then why not? Anyone would agree to that.
A day in the mine doesn't wash away easily, especially now that the water's ice cold. Oleg's family and I catch up at their apartment.
Спасибо.
Neither he nor any of the miners have seen any money in the last 3 months. Even then, it was just 40% of their $90 a month paycheck. Like parents the world over, they're focused on their daughter.
She wants to be a lot of things. She's at that age, you know. A singer, oh, now she wants to be a postman. That's the first I hear that, by the way. She wants to be a singer, an actress, ballerina, an artist. We're already drawing. We love to draw.
Snizhnoye, the town's name, means snowy. Legend has it Catherine the Great gave it its name on a snowy day after conquering this land from the Turks. It became part of what she called Novorossiya, or New Russia, a term that's popular again with the pro-Russian separatists. So productive and fabled were Udarnik's miners, it was the focus of the world's first ever documentary with sound, and earned the right to light a star on top of the mine. They last lit the star a couple years ago, nothing to brag about anymore. The mines here get media attention now for all the wrong reasons. While we were at the Udarnik mine, a methane explosion ripped through another mine just down the road. No mother wants to outlive her son, but it's something that happens all too regularly here. And not just because of the fighting.
The scariest part of all of this is this is just one of 33 miners who are going to be buried here. It's a well-rehearsed ritual in this part of the world.
Ukraine's mines are amongst the most dangerous in the world. Experts say that's partly because they're so deep, partly because they're so poorly maintained. An explosion at this very mine killed 101 miners in 2007. Every year, about 300 miners across Ukraine die in accidents. Life here can feel cheap. The mine even has its own cemetery. We're on our way to meet a miner's widow. Her name is Elena Prisyazhnaya, and her husband, was just 8 months from retirement when he was killed. I met Yelena in the dormitory where she now lives.
Дома нету, мужа нет.
I have no home and no husband.
Я даже не знаю.
I just don't know. My home was destroyed in the war. It was completely destroyed. It's just me and my son.
На Путиловке.
My husband is
Мы
gone.
с сыном тут остались. Мужа нет.
Ничего, что я в обуви.
Yelena and her son show me the room the two of them now share. There's a memorial to her husband in the corner. Many of his friends couldn't make the funeral because they're on the other side of the front lines. Her son Oleg shows me the video he shot of their bombed-out home. The front door falls off the hinges as he opens it. His dad was going to rebuild it.
Oh, let this war just end.
Before leaving, I ask Oleg about his future, what he's going to do.
I'm going to study, and I'll go somewhere else to work. No, I'm not going to be a miner. He didn't want me to become a miner. I won't, and my children won't either. It's a job from hell.
Coming up.
So as bad as this looks, people can't wait to get back down here because it's the only way to make money around here.
We show you how far miners out of work go to make ends meet. And we look at the economic toll of war. There has been one popular, though dangerous, way of making money in coal country. This landscape is littered with small, abandoned, illegal mines. If the normal mines feel unsafe and dicey, these are even worse. Most of them, like this one, are closed. Ukraine refuses to buy the separatist coal, part of its larger economic blockade of the region. No point in mining the coal down here if there's no one to sell it to.
So as bad as this looks, people can't wait to get back down here because it's the only way to make money around here.
If I've learned one thing, it's that the miners here will take any risk and enter any mine. Coal mining is in their blood.
Where else are people going to work? Only in mines. Businesses aren't working. The factories are idle. This is a mining region with mining towns.
While the world focuses first on the human toll, over 6,000 dead, the economic toll is also enormous. Even if the war ends, the reconstruction will take years and cost billions of dollars. Eastern Ukraine needs a Marshall Plan. It isn't clear who will foot the bill. What is clear is this separatist government needs help. The town of Snezhnoye's field commander doubles as the mayor.
What's most important now is industrial production. It's not shut down, but it's working at half capacity. The big goal is to get it working at full capacity.
Many of the mines were directly targeted in the fighting. This mine's headquarters was a battle zone. But in the grand scheme of things, shot-out windows can be replaced. Some things can't.
Some mines have it much worse, like this one, which was partially flooded, leaving hundreds of people without any work.
When this mine lost its water pumps, they nearly lost the mine. Many of the region's mines were lost altogether. Bridges, airports, roads, and railways lie in shambles. Looks like these cars took a pretty direct hit. The mines have no way of getting their coal to market. Almost no coal, in fact, makes it across the front lines.
This is one of the biggest power plants in all of the area controlled by the separatists, and they've got 2 days worth of coal left in their stockpiles. Why? Because the grade of coal it needs comes from the Ukrainian side.
Ukraine's economic blockade of the region goes beyond coal. Kyiv kicked the separatists out of the country's financial system. Banks, cash machines, and credit cards don't work. All state services, salaries, and pensions were cut off in November. The lines are getting longer at the soup kitchen in Snizhnoye. But these people are not homeless. Ordinary folk need this food to survive. The war means tens of thousands of people now depend on handouts. Olga Chumachenko runs this place. She sees the elderly, families, even miners who aren't getting paid.
People are now not living, they're just surviving. People are close to starvation.
Even a bowl of soup is becoming a luxury. Prices in Ukraine are rising faster than anywhere else in the world other than Venezuela. Olga says the supplies in her kitchen come from one place and one place alone.
Only from Russia. From the Ukrainian side, we get nothing. No attempts to help. They've all forgotten about us. Even though, as you can see, there are no separatists or Russians here.
Russia isn't only sending food to eastern Ukraine, they're showing up in person and making a spectacle of it. Alongside a convoy of humanitarian aid, a Russian official tells reporters it's there on the personal orders of the Russian president. State TV reporters broadcast the message and good deeds across Russia in eastern Ukraine. Meanwhile, this official tells me America is sending military advisors to the other side.
Humanitarian aid is humanitarian aid. Food is food. This isn't politics. I think you shouldn't mix them together.
We're at the mine that lost dozens of its men in the explosion just a few days ago. Today, they're unloading 50-kilo bags of flour and sugar. This is a Hearts and Minds campaign.
It's interesting, in all the years I've been watching Russia, this is one of the most vivid examples of soft power I've seen yet.
A local official complains Ukraine is blocking the flow of vital goods. For the record, Ukraine says their offers of aid were rejected. With all the weapons and troops Kyiv says Russia is providing to kill its people, Russian soft power is the epitome of hypocrisy. Some of the miners still aren't well enough to return to work.
We're going to go see the injured, and the head doctors just told me they're pretty used to dealing with these kind of problems.
These men all suffered from methane poisoning during the blast. Their biggest fear, not getting the doctors all clear to continue mining.
If it were peacetime, maybe you could find other work, but not now. We risk our lives to feed our families. I think that's a noble thing for a man to do.
It strikes me that neither the Russians, separatists, nor Ukrainians are helping these miners. They are on their own. They are the real heroes of this war.